Welcome back. This is Jennifer McGuire. So today I was creating a bunch of cards and I decided to film them to share with you just a bunch of random tips and tricks. All of my cards feature the Concord and Ninth Turnabout stamps, dies, and stencils. However, there will be lots of tips along the way using other products, so I'm hoping you'll learn a thing or two. So I've used the Concord and Ninth Turnabout stamps many times in videos, and I'll link to a playlist here up on the top right so you can check it out. I really like using these Turnabout products because of the different looks that you can get from one stamp set just by changing up the color and such. Well, recently Concord and Ninth released a bunch of new Turnabout products and a Turnabout Toolkit that's a game changer. This really makes a big difference in how easy it is to use these products. So I'll show you the kit, how to use them, and lots of examples along the way. This is the new Concord and Ninth Everyday Bouquet Turnabout Toolkit. It comes in this adorable little box, and there are lots of products inside that make using Turnabout products easier. Now keep in mind it also does come with a little instruction manual. I'm not showing that in the video since I'm going to walk you through it anyways, but it is there for future reference. So let's look at the other products included. There is a stamp set and a die set in the box. I've already removed them from their original packaging and put them in my storage sleeves, but you can see what the stamp and die sets are. These are great sets and I'll be using them in today's video. Included with the stamp set is an alignment guide. This is new for Concord and Ninth, and I'll be talking about these throughout the video. This is very handy to have, and you want to keep it with your stamp set. I didn't use the Turnabout stamp in this set in today's video, so I asked Concord and Ninth if I could share one of their examples, and they said yes. This is the adorable card that they made. I think it's such a beautiful example, and it uses all of the stamps included in this toolkit. There are also several products in the kit that can be used over and over again with your Turnabout stamps. The first thing is an adhesive remover. This is just like the adhesive eraser I've recommended in the past, but I found that it works really well and stays clean better. So now I have that to use in the future. There's also this Easy Dot Runner. Now this is a removable adhesive. So it's not a permanent one, which makes it perfect to hold paper onto your Turnabout jig. I think it'll be handy to have this repositionable adhesive for other techniques too. Next we have the Turnabout jig. Now this is sold separately if you prefer, and there's a smaller size jig sold separately. This is a great tool to have, and I will show this throughout the video. Finally, there are 4 note cards and 4 envelopes in the kit so that you can start stamping right away. Before I start my cards, I wanted to mention that Concord and Ninth has a pack of Turnabout alignment guides available. This is the alignment guide for all of the previous Turnabout stamps that Concord and Ninth has released. This pack is very inexpensive, and you'll see in today's video how handy these alignment guides are. Keep in mind that the Turnabout stamp sets that I show in today's video come with the alignment guide, and all future Turnabout stamps will also. Okay, so let's get started and I'll show you how to use these new Turnabout products, but also I have some other tips to share with you. My first card features the Concord and Ninth Birthday Basics Turnabout stamp. This is great for any kind of celebration or birthday card. I'm excited for a birthday Turnabout stamp because I can make different colored backgrounds for boys, for girls, for adults, for kids. It's good to have something that works for anyone on hand. And yes, it does come with the alignment guide that's going to help with stamping. I also have on hand my Turnabout jig. If you look closely, you'll see little dashed lines that make an X on the jig. This will be very helpful, as will these little corner notches that you see on the sides of the jig. This will show you where to line up your paper later on. This jig can be used over and over again and is very easy to clean. Also note that there is a 1, 2, 3, or 4 on the corner of the jigs, which will help you keep track as you rotate while doing your Turnabout stamping. If you've never seen a Turnabout stamp before, just stick with me. It'll make sense very soon. Next, I have the alignment guide that's included with the stamp set. I'm going to take the stamp itself and place it right onto this alignment guide, making sure to line up my images. So here's my alignment guide. I'm taking my stamp with the stamp side face down and lining it up with the images. This is very easy to do. As you look through the stamp, you'll easily see when they line up. The back of the stamp is facing up towards me. Next, I have the Turnabout jig in the corner of my stamping tool. I'll take my alignment guide and put it on top and line up the X on the alignment guide with that dashed X on the Turnabout jig. It's very easy to do. Once I have it lined up, I close the door on my stamping tool, and this transfers the stamp onto the door. And I'll know that my stamp is perfectly lined up to stamp using my Turnabout jig. In the past, we used to have to create our own jig and then draw an X on the back of the stamp to be able to line it up. Now we have the jig and the alignment guides to make it all easier. Next, I'm putting a little bit of that removable adhesive onto the center of my jig, so I can add a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch piece of cardstock to it. And I'm using the little corner marks to make sure I have it in the center. You can put any size cardstock onto this, and later I'll show you how to do turnabout stamping off center too. I've put the jig into the corner of my stamping tool with the one up on the top right. Okay, so now I'll start with my inking. You can use any colors. In fact, you could use the same colors for all 4 turns. It doesn't matter. But I chose 4 bright colors for this birthday card. So I'll stamp the first color, and I decided I wanted it to be darker. So I'm stamping it again. That's one of the joys of using a stamping tool, is that you can easily double stamp to make an image either more crisp or darker. Okay, so now I'm going to clean off my stamp, and I'll rotate the jig 1 turn. So right now you see the 1 on the top right. I'm going to rotate it 1 turn so that I have the 2 on the top right. You really don't have to follow the numbers, but it's an easy way to keep track. By the way, I should mention, if you want to see again how to set up the stamp with the alignment guide and the jig, just stick around because I'll show it a few other times in this video and some other ideas with it. I also should mention that the reason I like Turnabout stamps so much is because you can change up the colors each time to get a completely different look. For example, here I'm using very bright colors and it'll be a nice bold background. But if I wanted to, I could use maybe a colored cardstock and just do tone-on-tone stamping for a softer look. The possibilities are endless. Okay, so after I did my second stamping, I rotated my jig again so the 3 is on top. I'm inking it up with yet another color and stamping that. Again, I'm double stamping each time just to make my images more vivid. After I stamp this, we'll do 1 more turn so that the 4 is at the top on the jig, and this will be our last stamping for our turnabout stamping. Now remember, you could stamp each turn in the same color for a tone-on-tone or monochromatic look, or you could skip one of the turns so you have less images and more negative space in the background. Cleaning your jig is very easy. You can use a wet cloth, and if it stains, you could use a stamp cleaner or rubbing alcohol. To remove the adhesive in the center, you can just rub it away or use the adhesive eraser. So next, I trimmed down my background and added it to a white note card. I also created this fun balloon with a white heat embossed sentiment. I created the balloon using the new Concord and 9th Birthday Basics die set. This has lots of dies that are fun to create little party hats, balloons, banners, and much more. The white heat embossed hooray that is on the balloon is included in the Birthday Basics Turnabout stamp set that I used earlier. I simply assembled a balloon on the top of my card. You could even use a regular circle die for that. I wanted to add a string to this, but I couldn't find a dark blue string. I had this baker's twine and I thought I'd show you a trick. I thought it was too busy to use as is. So I'm actually pulling the white string away from the blue. You just separate the ends and then just pull them apart with your fingers. Now I have white string I can use or the dark blue. I decided to use the blue on this and I'll use the white in another video. Now to add this to my card, here's a trick that I like to do. I put some liquid adhesive on my fingers. I'm using Gina K Connect. And I run the string through my fingers so that I cover the string with a pretty thin layer of liquid adhesive. This makes the string a little bit sticky so that when I arrange it on my card, it stays in place. I'm tucking one end under the bottom of the balloon, and then I'm just going to press that string down onto the background, kind of curving it around a bit. As I press it down, that bit of adhesive on it will hold tight. So once I get it to the bottom, I can trim off the excess, and believe it or not, when this dries, it'll stay nicely. I'm using the rest of the string with adhesive on it to form a bow. Believe it or not, you can do a bow with adhesive on it. It sticks to your fingers a bit, but it's actually easier because it doesn't slip and slide as you kind of size the bow how you want it. Next, I'll put some liquid adhesive right at the base of our balloon, and I'll put our bow right onto it. I can also press the loops and ends of my string to end up exactly where I want them, and it'll dry in place. So our bow will always look perfect because of that adhesive we put on it. This is a great trick, and I encourage you to try it if you've never done it before. Here's a closer look at the finished card. You can see the colorful background we made with the Turnabout stamp. And again, that Hooray white heat embossed sentiment is from the same stamp set. Those little yellow star die cuts are included in the Birthday Basics die set that I used for the balloon too. And then I finished it off with a few green gems. Okay, let's move on to some more examples. These next few cards feature a Turnabout stamp set, so you'll see the setup with the jig and alignment guide. But this Turnabout stamp set is a bit different. This is the Concord and 9th stitched set. Now, if you look closely, there is a large Turnabout stamp and then a center stamp, so you can use them together or separately. There are also some other images and sentiments that go with this nicely. The set, of course, comes with the alignment guide, which will be very helpful. I also like that Concord and 9th shows on the packaging the different looks you can get from the set. You can see here on the top, it shows what it looks like if stamped once, twice, 3 times, or 4. And you can see how it builds up the pattern. And with this particular set, you could use the frame alone, or the center part alone, or together, and I'll show you those options here. We'll start by lining up our images onto the alignment guide. I have my stamp with the stamp side facing down, and I'm lining it up with those black images on the alignment guide. I did the outside first, and now I'm lining the centerpiece. So we'll start by stamping them together. I'm putting my jig right into the corner of my stamping tool, lining up the X on the alignment guide with the dashed X on the jig. And by the way, if you just put the jig and the alignment guide right into the corner of the MISTI, it usually lines up nicely. So I close the door on my MISTI stamping tool, transferring the stamp onto the door, and we're ready to go. I use some of that removable adhesive on the center of my jig to hold a piece of white cardstock at the center. This time I'm using softer ink colors, but I'm using the same process I did before. I start with the 1 on my jig at the top. I do my stamping, then I'll rotate it 1 turn so that the 2 is at the top, and I'll stamp it in another color. I'm going to skip through this because it's the exact same process as before. You ink up your stamp, you stamp it, rotate your jig 1 turn, ink it up and stamp it, rotate your jig 1 turn, and repeat until you have all 4 impressions made. I really like the detailed and the faux stitched look this stamp set gives. Okay, so let's do another example. This time, I'm going to take the center out of our Turnabout stamp because this stamp set lets you do the outside or the inside separately. In this case, we're going to do the outside only, so we'll end up with a perfect circle left unstamped at the center. So I put cardstock on my jig, and I'll just start doing the stamping as I did before, stamping and rotating each time. I use the same colors as I did on the last example. You can see this has a similar look, but you have that open area in the center where you can do any kind of stamping that you want. Okay, so I went ahead and made a few examples, and I wanted to show them to you here. In the middle here, we have the first one I showed you. This second one, I removed the center of the stamp, and I stamped each rotation with the same ink, giving me a tone-on-tone look. Then this example on the right, I just used the center of the stamp on my Turnabout jig. So I end up with that circle of floral images. I decided I wanted to die cut this one out with a large circle die and add it to the center of that pool piece that we have on the left. So this just shows that you can use this particular Turnabout stamp set to get a lot of different looks. With these backgrounds, I created a few different cards, and I wanted to show you some of the tips and tricks that I used along the way with each card. Let's start with this example here. I got a little creative with my die cutting by doing some uneven dimension and by hiding a little greeting. So I'll show you how to do both of these. Let's start with the heart element first. I again used images from the Concord and 9th stitched Turnabout stamp set. You can see I used that large stitched heart in the bottom, and also the sentiment that says, "So happy we're friends." To create the die cut heart, I used the older Concord and 9th quilted heart die set. This heart happens to be perfect for our stamped heart, and it actually cuts a solid heart and an outline heart, so I'll use both. So you can see I have two heart die cuts. One says "So happy" and one says "We're friends." And we're going to glue those together on the front of our card with a little hinge on the top so that it'll open and close easily. I'm creating a hinge by scoring a line at the top of my die cut. So about 1/8 of an inch from the top of the heart, I'm scoring along both bumps on the top of the heart. This will allow me to fold there, and I end up with two tiny little flaps. Now, after I've reinforced those fold lines, I'll unfold our little flaps and put strong liquid adhesive on the top of them. This will allow us to glue this to the back of our other heart die cut. So there are a few ways to create hinges like this. My last video showed another way if you're using a larger die cut, and I'll link to it here. But for small die cuts like this works great. So now you can see how this opens up very easily to show the rest of the greeting. And our hinge isn't too big there, so we can easily add this to a card and it'll still open. Okay, so next let's create that fun uneven dimension that you see on the banner here. This is a fun trick and something you can do with a lot of different die cuts. I'm using the banner die that you see in that Everyday Bouquet Turnabout die set that's included in the toolbox that I showed you at the beginning of this video. I die cut 3 banners from pool cardstock. I'll keep one intact as that will be the base of the dimensional banner we're making. From the other 2, I just cut a little bit out of the center. Now I'm going to add some dimension just on the ends of our banner, so let's start on one side. I'm cutting a small foam square, and I'm putting it at the end of one of our pieces of banner. On the other end of this, I put some regular adhesive. Now I'm going to put this in place, a little bit offset, kind of scooted to the right a bit, and you can see how we have dimension at the end of it, but at the center it's flat. Now this seems silly, but once you add another piece, you can see that fun dimension that you get. So you got a buildup of dimension on the end, but then it's flat at the center. I repeated the process at the other end of the banner, and here you can see the fun results. Now I could have just used full dimensional pieces across it, not done uneven dimension, but I'm adding this heart to the center and I didn't want too much bulk at the heart. So there we have our fun little accent that will go in the center of our card. And because our hinge is so small, it will easily open when we put this on the card. So here's a look at the final card. I added a few pearls and also a blue heart outline die cut that I created with that same heart die that I showed you earlier. You can easily open up the flap so that you can see the rest of the greeting. Although I kept the card design pretty simple overall, I have some interesting aspects to it thanks to that hinge feature and to the uneven dimension. Sometimes little things like that can make a big difference. Okay, let's look at another card that uses one of the stitched turnabout backgrounds that I created. I also show a fun technique that allows you to stretch your stamp. Now on this one I also use the Concord and 9th Hello Sunshine Turnabout stamp set, and I'll use this again later in this video. On this particular card, I'm using that banner image on the top of the set. And along with it, I'll be using the banner die in the Concord and 9th Hello Sunshine die set. I'll also use this die set again later in this video. To save a bit of time in the video, I did some stamping and die cutting off screen. I stamped the banner on pool cardstock and used the coordinating die to cut it. I also stamped a yellow heart from that stitched Turnabout stamp set that I used for the background, and I die cut that also. I stamped "Thank you so much" on the heart, and that's from the Everyday Bouquet Toolkit that I showed you earlier in this video. So I have my heart in my banner, but I wanted some little details next to the heart on the banner. It's hard to see it here in the photo, but you can see it in real life. The image in the stamp set isn't long enough though. You can see here the heart covers most of it. So this is a trick that I do often to make a stamp look bigger. I first ink up half of the stamp only. So I'm inking up just the left-hand side, stamping it on the left part of our banner. Then I'll clean my stamp and ink up the right side of the image and stamp it on the right side of my banner. You'll see the center doesn't meet up. That's okay because we're putting that heart die cut over it. So this kind of allowed us to stretch our image so you can see it to the left and the right of our heart die cut. This is a great way to get more out of your stamps. So here's the finished card. I trimmed my background down and added it to a blue colored note card. I also added a few little pearls to the left and right of the heart. I kept the card design very simple because I didn't want to distract from the beautiful detail in the background. And here we have my last card using the Stitched Turnabout stamp set. We have the tone-on-tone background and then the stamping at the center. I also black heat embossed Thinking of You right on top of the stamping. I like the faux stitched look that sentiment has, and it's from the same stamp set. I also added a few pearls here and there at the center. I created soft cards with this stamp set, but you could definitely get a completely different look by using bold colors. Okay, my next two cards feature probably my favorite of the new Turnabout stamps from this release, and this is the Concord & Ninth marbled stamp. Now you could create really soft, subtle looking marbled backgrounds with this Turnabout stamp, but I'm going to go for two pretty bold looking backgrounds for my examples. I'll start by taking the stamp and lining it up with my Turnabout alignment guide. So you can see it's lined up perfectly with the back of the stamp facing up. Now I will take my jig and put that into my stamping tool. I'll take my alignment guide and line up the X on the guide with the X on the jig. Close the door on my MISTI and remove the alignment guide. You can see how the alignment guide saves a lot of time over how we used to set up our Turnabout stamps. For my first example, I'm using 4 inks from the same color family of Altenew inks. Altenew makes their inks so there's a light, medium, dark, and extra dark ink in the same color. You can buy them together or individually, but it takes the guesswork out when you want to have a perfect match. So each time I stamped and rotated and used a different color, and you can see this fun, gorgeous marble-looking background that you end up with. For my other example, I used a light blue, pool, and light green ink. And then for the fourth image, I actually silver heat embossed, so I have that silver in the background too. For my first card example, I have a fun window technique for you. On this card, I used the banner and thanks die that are included in that Everyday Bouquet toolkit that I showed you at the beginning of the video. I'm mixing and matching a lot of the different Concord & Ninth products together on different cards today, just to show you how you can use them in many ways. I trim my background down to 4 by 5 1/4, and I'm using that temporary adhesive that's included in the toolkit to temporarily adhere that to the front of a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch white note card. I'm using the banner die to cut through both the marbled piece and the front of the note card so that we can have a fun window card. I'm doing a fun technique that has the word thanks on the front of the card, but if you look through the window, there's also the word thanks in silver on the inside of the card, and they line up perfectly. To do this, I'm cutting the word thanks from our marbled banner die cut piece. After I've done this, I want to cut the word thanks from some silver embossed paper. I find the easiest way to do this is start with white cardstock, press an embossing ink such as Versamark directly onto the paper, add some silver embossing powder or any embossing powder you would like, and then heat set it for a beautiful shine. I find it much easier to do the heat embossing before the die cutting. Once this is cool, I can take my thanks die and run it through my die cut machine so I have silver embossed die cut letters. Okay, using the negative space in my banner, I'm going to tape it right into my window. This negative space is just going to be a guide so that I can glue my silver die cut letters into the inside of the card. I'm putting a bit of liquid adhesive into the window of each letter, pop the silver die cut letter in place, and once I have all of the letters for thanks in place, I let it dry, and then I can remove the negative space. And this will make sure that my thanks die cuts are evenly spaced right at the center of our die cut window. Next, I'm adding some strong double-sided tape above and below our die cut window on the front of our card. I've cut a piece of scrap acetate, just some clear packaging, that's slightly bigger than our window, and I'm placing that right over it. Next, I'll put more double-sided adhesive all around the front of the card, and then we can add our marbled die cut piece on top. So we're sandwiching that acetate piece in between the front of our card and our marbled die cut piece. When we close the card, you can easily see the silver thanks on the inside of the card. You could leave it like this, but I wanted to step it up one step further. I have my marbled die cut letters, and I'm putting liquid adhesive on the back of them and adding them to the front of the acetate window, making sure they're lined up with the silver letters on the inside. So when the card is closed, you see the blue letters, and when the card is open, you see the silver. This is a really fun new way to create a window card, and I plan to do a video on this in the future. After I put my card together, I didn't feel like the word thanks stood out enough on the front. I didn't want to give up. I always find a way to make my cards work, so I just took a dark blue marker and colored over the stamping. This allowed the letters to stand out more. I then coated them with some glossy accents for shine and added some gemstones right next to it on the acetate. So here you can see the final result with the letters on the front of the card and on the inside. You could do fun window cards like this with many different shape dies and word die cuts. And by the way, that little sentiment strip that says "This card is full of" is from the Simon Says Stamp Big Thanks word stamp set. Next up, we have the card that I made with the other marbled background. This one has the silver heat embossing. I created a little banner heat embossed image with a sentiment at the center. And then I also die cut and colored some flowers and leaves to tuck behind that banner sentiment. I really like the heat embossing on the marble of this one and think it would be fun to do the entire marbled background with different colors of metallic embossing powder. I wanted to show you the products that I used here. I again used the Hello Sunshine stamp set for that fun banner image, and then the coordinating die set to cut it out. I also used this stamp set and die set that's included in that toolkit that I showed you at the beginning of this video. I really like that sentiment and also these floral and leaf dies. Okay, we're on my last batch of cards. I know I went overboard, but I was just having so much fun. For this one, we're going to do Turnabout die cutting too. I'm again using the Concord and 9th Hello Sunshine Turnabout stamp. This has some great sentiments in it, and it also has a small turnabout image that you can use to create like fireworks, a sunshine, or a star pattern. I'll also be using the Concord and 9th Hello Sunshine Turnabout die set. It has the word sunshine, which is adorable, some coordinating dies, and then it has a turnabout die included. So we'll use both of these together, and then I'll show you how to use the die by itself. So I have my alignment guide. I'm going to line up the stamp with the image on the alignment guide. Once I have it in place, I will put my turnabout jig into my stamping tool and line up the X on the guide with the X on the jig. It's very easy to do in real life. After I have my stamp set up, I'm going to add my cardstock to the jig. Instead of centering it on the jig, I'm actually going to have it hanging off. This way, I can offset my turnabout stamping to one end of the card. And the fact that it's hanging off the edge doesn't matter at all. So now I'll just do my stamping exactly like I did before. Just ignore the fact that there's some cardstock hanging off one end. So you'll see when I get to this next rotation, my paper will actually hang out of my stamping tool. Doesn't matter as long as the jig is pushed right up against the corner. So you can see how I have this fun sunshine image set to the bottom of the card. If I wanted my sun in the center of the card, I could have just put the paper in the center of the jig. I love that you can kind of change things up for different looks. Okay, now that I have this fun sun image, I thought I'd change it up a bit by using the coordinating die. There are many ways to use this. Here I'm just lining it up with one of the stamped images that I have in my sun. Once I have it lined up, I'll tape it in place, run it through my die cut machine, and there we have some die cut rays. There are many different things you could do with this piece, but I decided to do some inlaying with gold glitter paper. I have a yellow note card here, and I'm putting lots of adhesive towards the bottom of the card, pretty much covering the bottom with adhesive. You could use a piece of double-sided adhesive here if you wanted to. So through each of those die cut little rays, we have adhesive behind it. I also die cut my sun from some gold glitter cardstock, and I'm taking each of the die cut rays and putting them right in place into our white background. They fit there perfectly, giving a fun inlay look. I finished off the card by adding a gold glitter circle die cut right at the center of the sun, and then a Sending a Bit of Sunshine banner. I also added a bunch of yellow gemstones for additional sparkle. I love this card and hope to make a bunch more of them, just changing the sentiment at the center. Okay, last but not least, I wanted to show how to use that sunshine turnabout die to create this fun sunshine look, all with die cutting. I'm starting with a piece of 4" by 4" gold glitter cardstock. I'm using a T-ruler to make a plus sign right at the center. So I'm making a mark at 2 inches in both directions. And then we'll have that plus sign right at the center of our gold glitter cardstock. I normally would do this with pencil, but on the glitter paper I had to use a pen, but we'll cover it up. Now you see that open plus sign on the die? I'm lining it up with that black plus sign we drew on our paper. So you'll be able to look right through and see it lines up nicely. I'll run it through my die cut machine. I'll then rotate my die 1 turn until I see the plus side again, and I'll run it through my die cut machine again. I'll do the same thing once again, rotating, making sure my pluses line up, run it through again, and after 4 turns, you end up with this cool looking pattern, and I love it. Even 3 turns alone would look great. Next, I added a circle to the center that says God is good from that Hello Sunshine stamp set. I wanted to add some coral colored pearls to the background, but I didn't have any. So here's a trick for you. Just take white pearls or white gems, put them on a piece of tape so they stay still, and then use any kind of permanent marker to color them. I use Copic markers, but Sharpies would work too. You could even use alcohol inks. Once they're dry, you can go ahead and glue them onto your card, and that way you can make pearls and gems in any colors you want. I can honestly say I don't think I've ever used this much glitter cardstock on one card, but I thought it was fun using it with this turnabout die and the added pearls. Okay, so before we go, I wanted to show you some of the other new Turnabout products that Concord and 9th just came out with. I didn't have a chance to use them all. Believe it or not, the cards I made here took me 3 days, so I was running out of time. This is the To The Point Turnabout stamp set. It has cute little cactus images that you can create fun backgrounds with. And then there's also the To The Point die set. You've got the little images to create a cactus and the word howdy. Since I didn't have time to create anything with this, Concord and 9th said I could share one of their examples. Absolutely adorable card, and I love the colors that they chose. Next we have a smaller stamp set. This is the Concord and 9th Spirograph Turnabout stamp. It has that mini image that you see on the top that you stamp 4 times, rotating each time to create a fun spirograph look. Here's some cards from Concord and 9th. You can see how you can create just the spirograph look or a fun floral image. And by the way, this stamp set is free for a limited time with a $60 purchase, and then next month you'll be able to buy it. So I'll put information about that below. And last but not least, I'm so excited about this. We have the Concord and 9th Faceted Turnabout Stencils. I've been hoping they'll do stencils, and there's 2 included in this set. Now, I didn't get to use them, but I wanted to show you what it looks like. From one of the stencils, you can create this faceted floral image. And from the other, you can create an entire background. All you have to do is rotate the stencil in between each inking. Here are a couple of Concord and 9th examples, and I'm just so excited about the possibilities of Turnabout stencils. All right, there you have an over-the-top video. Sorry there's so much in it. I'm having trouble kind of getting it back into the swing of things with creating videos, but I hope you learned a thing or two. All of the supplies I used are linked in the description below here on YouTube, or you can go to my blog for much more information. In the middle are a couple other videos that you might want to check out. I appreciate you spending this time with me. I hope to see you again soon, and have a great weekend.